Hi, good afternoon. My name is Vishal Bindra. I am founder of Classify Technology, and today we're going to discuss, a very important topic about data security and privacy program and how to make it very effective. And I'll run you through, what has been our experience, why this is required, and how people should start to be addressing this. So we are not really going to discuss any specific technology here, but I'm really going to talk majorly from why and how why it is required, what are the different framework that people should be adopting, and so that you can then pick and choose what suits you the best. What are the market drivers? I mean, today why we are discussing this? One of the reasons that we have to really see that these three major drivers which have come in. There is a huge exponential data growth which is happening. I mean, I remember when I started my career, it used to be in KBs, and we are talking about gigabyte, petabyte, zettabyte. I don't know. I mean, I don't even know if I have to write zeros in terms of zettabyte, I'll ever be able to write that. So I mean, when we are talking about your data is becoming it is becoming doubling every few months. Your company data that is increasing. Today, I think our mobile phones have almost equal amount of processing and storage capacity than most of the laptops which are there. So I think that itself really starts to show that what is the kind of data which is there. Second very important thing is that today we are moving towards the cloud adoption. This cloud adoption increase we've seen specifically during these last few months of pandemic. This people have increased their adoption of cloud, and as much as that people were talking about that we'll move everything to the cloud, but I think the model which will ultimately is getting settled out is hybrid cloud adoption which is there. And then it becomes even more that you don't know that the applications are running either in cloud or on prem, and where is your data, and all this data is very intermixed. You're now using one application data into other. So this is also opening up and exposing all new challenges. And data threats, when you look at all kind of security which is getting implemented, there all kind of security is getting implemented only if you look at trying to achieve just two things: identity, which could equal to privacy, and second is data. If you look at any other things, people are deploying large firewalls, IPS, all kind of DLP, antivirus, all is because they want to protect their data. If you're not able to protect your data, all of these are useless. So I mean, whether we're doing infrastructure security, application security, or we're looking at data security, ultimately is to ensure that whatever information we have, that information is the most important tool today that is there with us. We want to just protect that. Industry changes, I'm sorry, some clip, to move forward sometimes takes time. What are the industry changes which are happening? On the one side, that this data is becoming very important, and because this data is becoming very important, there are a lot of changes which are happening in terms of how the corporates are really using it, both in terms of their daily use, in terms of your technology use, and how governments are looking at it. So if you look at today, because every board now, every business owners or business boards really understand that data is one of the most important assets that they have. If you look at Uber, if you look at Walmart, or you look at Jio, look at Airtel, what is the most important thing that they have? They have data, and they are able to do a deep mining on the data, and rest everything can be now plugged into that who's using it. So if your data is becoming the most important thing, if your consumer data, your manufacturing data, your financial data is the most important thing, and if you've not really kept it protected, your organization can get wiped out very, very quickly, from the face of this earth. So that is why now boards are becoming extremely important. So they are not asking you any questions on whether we have a firewall deployed, or whether we have large IPSs involved, do we have antivirus. Their major question is if our cyber risks are addressing our data security posture. If our data is secured, then everything else is now an investment rather than an expenditure. So that is one question which is being asked, and everything else which is going behind that particular scene is to just justify this one question: is my data secured? Is my data secured from competition, from thefts, or from malicious activities which are there? So that is happening. On a technology side, every business is becoming data centric. If you either you look at whether you look at your TV industry, you look at your retail industry, look at hospitals, look at any industry, data is becoming the most important thing that we want to understand. Whose data is there, who's using these services, how much they're using that services for, and people who have access to this data and are able to utilize this data are the ones who are really able to go out in the market and ensure that they can make that business growth much faster. Now, if you look at question number 1 and 2, to ensure that people are forced to look at this, even if some companies are not, or some organizations or some enterprises are not looking at it, there are organizations, or government regulations which have come into the picture, which we call as regulatory compliances, which have ensured that companies have to invest their time and effort into that. So if you look at this huge change started to happen, which became a very prominent change globally, was GDPR. But then GDPR is not the only one. Then CCPA, we have Indian data protection law, which is coming in. And let me really put a cautious here. I mean, if any of the organization enterprises have not looked at how their India data protection law is going to look at and what kind of a compliance requirements would come in, I can guarantee you that this GST compliances and other compliances will start to look very small. You will have to really carve out a separate post for this, and there'll be a lot of compliances which would be required by the government, and they not only have a large financial compliance, in case the compliance is not met, there are large financial fines, but they will also ensure that you will have to go through the jail term in case that is there. So these industry changes are making it extremely important for us to focus on this area. I'll quickly go into the kind of data, because unless we understand, and I'm sure a lot of you people know this, but just to really put the context in place that how does this data really look like. You have examples of unstructured data, semi-structured data, and structured data. And if you really look at the problem really starts on left to right. One is still very, very controlled, because we are talking about structured data. It's in databases, there is a proper structure, and then you can put a lot of controls. The really things really start to happen is on the left side, when you have very unstructured data. And unstructured data is really really going through the roof. For example, if you let me just give you an example from here. How does unstructured data really starts to get formed? You send an email, that's an unstructured data. You're attaching some information to that, that is unstructured data. You are sharing your Aadhaar card for some processing of some information, or buying some credit card, or your mobile phone number and other things. All those are unstructured data which needs to be put onto structured data, but then finally it may be in an application, it can go into an unstructured data, but this data lies there. And because that unstructured data is lying with you, it is like an open bomb which can explode anytime for your requirements. That is something which is there. And this is the representation. If you really look at your machine, if you could really do the visualization of your unstructured data in your PC or on your servers, this is how your unstructured data really look at. And these organizations are having a huge challenge to really how to really manage this uncontrolled data, because there is no way. I mean, you can really control all of this. I can be writing email with saying that, okay, this is my credit card number, or this is my date of birth, this is my address, can you please send somebody with the tickets at my place. All these are happening, and the worst thing that is happening is that employee within your organization might be doing it without really knowing that he is really putting in an information which could really become a compliance issue for you, but as an organization you get exposed to that. So segregation of a business critical information from a non-critical data is very important. For example, I'll just use this example again and again. Let's say I'm sharing one email with one of my very old friends saying, hey Rakesh, how are you doing? It's been long that we've not met. And he says, yeah, I think it's been very, very long. What are you doing this weekend? I say, this weekend I'm free. He suddenly sends me his credit card. He says, I'm also free. Why don't you? But I'm tied up today. But why don't you use this credit card to, really book a weekend out, somewhere near the town, outside of the town. Now, this is a general conversation which is going in. First two conversations was not critical data which was there. But the minute I had put up, or minute he had put a his credit card into that, and that credit card was coming to me, it should have been really put in a different format, because now it had critical personal information which could have a some kind of a financial implications. So that is something which is there. And if you again I'm trying to connect this whole thing with the example that I've given it to you, and look at the the data sphere which is exchanging. Because I think the the maximum amount of time, if after WhatsApp that there is an data exchange which is happening, is on the emails. We're creating proposals, we're creating a lot of data which is really happening on your PPTs, email, Excel sheets. Excel sheets have huge Excel sheets, have a lot of logical data which people can grow out. And if you really look at the growth which is happening, I mean I don't even know that we have that much space to really store all that data which is getting generated. And what do you do? And this is not the only problem. And if you really look at if you're a CIO or a CISO, you have two distinct set of problems which are happening. On one side you have all these regulatory compliances which I did talk about. You have HIPAA compliance, CCPA 27001, GDPR, PCI, PDPB, IRDA, RBI, all of these, and the list is very large. I mean, if you look at a typical bank or typical financial institution, I think they have more than 30 plus compliances that they need to really address. To top it all, we have data breach. So if you look at a CISO's life, it looks to be very fancy and really powerful. But if you really look at it, what keeps him awake, he doesn't know that where does he need to really start putting his efforts. And he has to put his efforts on ensuring that his data doesn't go out, and to ensure that his data doesn't go out, he also has to meet those compliances. So how do you really ensure that this balance is really met? And let me tell you, these are only estimates. And I mean, I can tell you, if we really go and start to do some more research work on this, we will find these figures really going through the roof of data breach. And we are lucky that we had from the regulatory perspective, a lot of companies did get a breather because of pandemic. But is 2021 2022 going to look the same? Answer is absolutely no. GDPR or HIPAA is going to go very, very aggressive post this particular thing. And just some of the non-compliance, what it can really ask for. I mean, and let's focus on this India PDP, because if you're talking about, most of the people are who are going to be listening to this are going to be in Indian geography. And if you really look at PCI and PDP are something which can really impact us very directly. And PDP means we are talking about 15 crores or 4% of the global turnover. Now imagine airlines losing data in the market, and this is, if they have to really start giving 4% of the global turnover, kind of money that they'll have to shell for it. So you focusing on earlier things of ensuring that we have a good data security in place is going to be much more quicker. Data breaches, I mean, our first slide showed about what kind of a data compliance is, all the cost. Now imagine a company which is involved in a data breach and is also non-compliant. I mean, they'll end up actually spending so much more money that they would have probably spent on their complete IT budget in probably that year. So and these are something that we are only talking about, which are publicly known. And we know for the fact, I mean, if you look around you, there have been so many data breaches that happening in India. See why it is not really impacting a lot of Indian organizations today, because your Indian PDP law is not in place. The minute Indian PDP law will, that act will become a law, I am sure that you'll see so many Indian names here, because they will not only need to look at how this data breach has costed them, but because they will also need to pay for their compliance thing. And any news coming out in the market for a data breach would ensure that there is an investigation happening from the compliance side also. So it will be a double whammy for most of these people. So what are the challenges for any organization's data protection team to really do that? I mean, if I was to really ask anybody who's listening to this, can he, with lot of can any CISO, CIO, or their data protection team can answer this quantitatively, saying what is the sensitive and critical data we have? They will not be able to know that, where all it is stored. I mean, imagine, if you look at any data breaches which have happened, people have kept data and forgotten about it. And that has really given a good opportunity, and they have kept the data there for in the same format for like 6 months, 8 months, 1 year. And because it was totally out of sight, out of mind, which was really playing there. Who all have access to the sensitive data or critical data? Why should my employee data be there with my marketing department? There's no reason. Why my HR data should be there, or why my sales data should be available to my HR? There is zero reasons. And how do I really ensure that once my people have left, they don't have access to my data? In every law very clearly says that you not knowing about regulation does not mean that you are obligated of that compliance. You have to know. If you do not know, then it is your problem, it is not government's problem. So you don't even know that what are the compliances which I have, and where are those compliances getting violated. So it is something like that, since no compliance check has come on you, you can believe that you are secured, but that is now how it is. And we going by whatever laws which are there, we have to understand that it is now becoming a retrospective problem. It is not the problem from the day that law is passed out. That is something which is there. And to put it all, since I do not know where my data, what is my sensitive data, I don't know where it is stored, I don't know who has access to it. How can I really tell you that is my sensitive information or my secured information, is my critical information secured? These are 5-stage approach that we should really put it in place. How to achieve your data compliance, data security. First of all, we have to discover where your data is, what your data is. If you compare it with the our infrastructure side, I think every single organizations that we are seeing are upgrading themselves to next generation firewall, or looking at SSL visibility, is primarily they want to really understand what is the kind of data which is flowing in my network. I think this is equivalent of that on the data side. You should first really be doing the complete data discovery, that what is the where my data is, who has the data, what is the context to it. So once I have this, this we have discovered this data, now we can put the now we can start to do the classification of data. Now if you look at classification, I think this is not something which is a new phenomena. It is not something phenomena which we have introduced or some tech companies have introduced. I think this data, this particular concept has been used by armed forces for very very long time. I mean, if as much as I am aware of, there are just 3 levels of 3 or 4 levels, maximum 4 levels of data or file classifications that they normally call it. And if you really look at, compare any other industry versus army, air force, or our security agencies, the data pilferage out of that particular things are comparatively very, very small. Reason is that what they've done is that instead of people going with presumption that how I can manage this data, they've been able to narrow it down to just 4 buckets, and those 4 buckets very clearly, crisply define that what kind of a classification you can give to what kind of data, and then how that data needs to be handled, and who can handle that data. I think once we have been able to meet that, and I will cover this in subsequent slides also. So what you are able to do is that if I was to really compare a lot of DLP projects which we have also done, or continue to do, customers are facing this problem that they say that our DLP is starting to fail over a particular over particular time, because we are now trying to make a lot of policies, or we are trying to loosen out the policies, rather than saying that we have these fixed policies and everybody needs to fit into that. I understand there is a change in terms of behavior that is required, but I think if you are able to reduce the amount of policies which are required to control, and if we could put automation in place, that how your data classification can be automated, and how we can do that, I'm sure this problem will get addressed to a very, very, very large extent. So once you've discovered your data, you've done your classification of data, now you can protect your data, because now you know what is the data which is critical, non-critical, what is the data that is available for you for protection, what is the data that how much protection do you require. For example, there is a very critical data about my few purchase orders which have come in, or they are going to come in next few weeks. The kind of protection that I would like to keep on them should be very different than my last year data. So I think that is something that we will be able to really look at very, very significantly. Our protection levels will start to come into place. So now you don't need to give one protection to every data, and then to some people you have given a very large amount of protection, to some people they have given smaller amount of protection. Depending on what is the kind of data that is there, you will do the protection accordingly. And then you have to put a monitoring space over it. Now you've done the discovery, you've done the classification, you've done the protection, but because the classification can change, I'll give you an example. If you really go through the life cycle of making a public limited company's balance sheet, or quarterly results, it starts with data which is spread out with right from the vouchers and other things, and starts to get consolidated. So as it continues to come up the layer, we need to start put more and more protection layer on that particular thing. And it becomes extremely critical when it gets into the format where somebody can just look at the data and can define whether it is a profit or loss, or how much profit we have made or how much loss we have made. And before the results, it has to be really kept as what we call as very it is internal data, it is secure data, it is encrypted data, not to be shared with anybody, which can result into inside trading or other trading, and can cause a very, very big problem for organization. But as soon as they have announced it in the public, the results have been announced in the public, the whole data approach really starts to change. It is now limited public availability really needs to start to come in. So right from being semi secure data to very secure data, and then publicly shareable data, how do you really do that? So that is something that your classification continues to change. So you need to have a dynamic program where you can continue to change your classification depending on the time of that particular information. And then you should have a monitoring mechanism built in place, that how you can monitor this risky behavior. And for protection, you will need to use a lot of third-party tools like DLP, rights management, archival solutions, or other solutions. Now you should ensure that your program which is running is in this particular format. That means you have been able to discover data. Now that you know that what is the kind of data that is there, now you can put the classification into it. You can also ensure that these two categories, where we're talking about protect and automate ecosystem, are working in tandem with each other. and then monitoring system is sitting on over it. For example, in case you have a policy that in case there is an internal, the data which is marked as internal should be secured by the rights management and should not be allowed to go out of your premises. Now, you need two technologies for this. You already used data classification as a main technology. Now you have you can also use rights management, and then depending on your policy, it should be able to protect your data, and you don't have to go and utilize the second technology. It should be also able to ensure that your data does not leave your premises. All this should happen automatically. It should be integrated with those technologies, so that the automation of the downstream technology can take place with just one action, depending, which tells you that what is the classification of it, because that is really defining how your data movement should be allowed within your environment. So I'll just really go a little deeper into the each one of these, which is talking about discovery. Discovery means gain visibility. It should be able to clearly give you the visibility that how sensitive data is getting collected, where is my sensitive data residing, in what format my data is residing, what is the sensitivity of that particular data. Is it very, very internal? Is it public information? It is credit card information? Is it Aadhaar information? What kind of information that I have? Who all has access to that data? It is very important for us to know that who all have that access to that particular data. And then we want to understand that what is classification. Is it classified? Because once we have the data, we know that what is the sensitivity of data. We have to put a context to it. That means, is it personal information? Is this company information? Is it critical because it is required by any large enterprises, or is it because of my government compliance? By the time I finish my data classification and putting context to it, the last level is very, very important. That what kind of a security controls which are required? What are the level of security control which are required? For example, a particular data with a particular person could be very critical, from three data security perspectives. It could have a credit card information, it could have a European data, and it could also have their bank details of India. So that means it is now very, very important for your Indian law. It is very important for your GDPR. It is also important for PCI compliance. So the kind of sensitivity it has is very high within your system. So you need to really put in a lot more controls over it. So that really starts to give you the definition that instead of you putting your efforts on everything, now you can actually pick and choose your crown jewels and ensure that what kind of a security you need to put it on that particular. Classify the data. How do you classify the data? Once you need to understand what is the sensitivity of data, what is the criticality of data, what is the context of data. It is also about who's the owner. For example, if there is a company's CFO or its CEO who are producing the data, and most of the time you would like to keep the data very confidential. So how do you really you can actually start to ensure that your classification can depend on the user, his what is the kind of hierarchy he is within the organization, so that whatever data that he's generating, how we need to really ensure that how it is protected. Also, it depends on how do you really protect the data from a perspective of what is the contain, what does the data contain. So once you know what is the data contain, what is the context of the data, you can start to put metadata, visual tags. Visual tags very important, because a lot of time people can say, I do not know what is the metadata, so I did not know. But in case there's a data that comes in front of me and it says very clearly it is highly confidential, I would anyways be very, very very, very careful on how do I really treat that data. And the most important thing is that instead of with a lot of this automation which is coming in, we have to involve end user, the person who's actually generating the data, and use non repudiation as particular thing, so that when Vishal is creating the data, we should very clearly be able to identify that he is the one who's created the data. And if he is saying that it is a data which is a public shareable data, he's saying it with a very, very strong understanding and will be held responsible for it. So that is something which is there. And of course, a lot of people may say that I do not know whether this is an internal data or a confidential data. How do I define? That has to be done through a regular education program for all our users. Now, how do we really protect, my data? Data pseudonymization is something that, something which has been, there used for a very, very long time. But, it is something like that, we will not know, whose data it is. We will, if you really look at the first two, anonymity and the pseudonymization, I think that is something that you will realize that, how it is, they've already been used. That means I can mask the data, I can flip the data. The data, what looks like, is not an actually a data. So we use, different methods of, separating out the data, storing it at multiple locations, and ensuring that only a particular application, when accesses it, can be accessed in the right format. We will, use the data. It may look like a credit card number, but it is not an actual credit card number. All of those things can be, very clearly, looked at. Data encryption, we have really helped a lot of customers, really do that. The minute they send any internal data or a confidential data, it should automatically, I told about, automation earlier. It can talk to, if you have a data, which is marked as, or you have marked as confidential data, it will speak to the enterprise encryption tool and will automatically encrypt it. So it is not dependent on user now to remember every time he's trying to share a data. For example, how many times you've actually shared a very confidential email with somebody whose name was very similar to, somebody that you wanted to send but belonged to some other company, and you say it's do a recall, which, does not work in current environments. How the, how, going from Microsoft to Google, now it is coming, and, he actually looks at that particular email saying that, oh, I need you to, probably this has some important information, let me look at it. But if you had this, very clearly defined that I am sending this email to Rakesh, and, the minute I send it to Rakesh, and the information says it is internal or it is confidential, it is encrypted. So I was sending it to maybe Rakesh Sharma, and it went to Rakesh Verma. Now Rakesh Verma, even if he gets it, he does not have a decryption key. So he may have an access to the email, but he does not have access to the email content. Access control. If you have data which is internal and you want to use it, or somebody wants to use it, you can, ensure that your technologies of access control can be built in. You will not be able to access the data because it is classified as internal or confidential. It is already there. Information barriers, I think that is becoming a very, very important, terminology, which was pretty much used by a lot of banks, which again is a, what I call as a very rudimentary, if I was to explain, it is a enhancement of access control, and, to look at information as per your need basis. That means if I am a CEO, I can actually look at every information. If I had a, chief information officer, he can look at only that information which he needs to ensure that information flow and information security can take place. He may see the, credit cards, but he may not see the actual credit cards. So, this is how the information barriers can be built if you have the basic data classification in place. Monitor risky behavior. Today it is very, very difficult to really look at, so much data which is getting generated. That means when we are talking about zettabyte is getting created, that means, data is being moved here and there, data is being shared. How do you really do that? So what is very easy for you is now that, you have, instead of, you trying to put control over everything. Let's say you are a company has 100,000 files, and, would they want to monitor all those 100,000 files? Answer is no. I'm sure at least about 40% of those files would be publicly shareable data. Now let's keep that out. Now you have been able to reduce your effort onto that 60%, and now you want to really, look at it. How do you want to really monitor those internal data which is marked as internal? What is that data which is confidential? So now what is the data that you need to really look at. How do you really want to monitor it? Whom do you want to monitor it for? For example, if it's a marketing department, it may be at a lower risk than your, accounts department, finance department, or your HR department. Maybe those are the departments that, you need to really understand. And because you have already built in controls looking at, in case there is an internal information that cannot be sent out, if somebody changes information too frequently from internal to public, you can actually build in, things which will start to show out, a lot of, throughout a lot of risky behavior. And now you can identify that, okay, if this person is, on a regular basis changes the compliance from from internal to public or confidential to public, and then shares that particular information, I mean, then you're now creating a pattern, and then you can, really start to monitor that particular, activity. So this gives you a very, very strong use case for doing the risky behavior monitoring, which is there. And automation, so what we are saying is that you have to do it once, and then it can be used downstream. For example, you've discovered the data, you put the context to it, and then you've done the classification, or you've done the classification at a time of your generation of information. For example, I've created an email, and that is confidential in nature, and I have done that. And once I've done that, I can actually use a lot of automation tools, like I've spoken about encryption, I've spoken about rights management, I've spoken about backup, I've spoken about archival. All of these tools can now pick and do an automated work, without user to remember any one of these, by only looking at the classification that they had done earlier. So that means you have to only put in effort once, and rest all functions, depending on the quality or depending on the, what kind of a property that your data has, they can, start to use that. So this is how you start to use automation, which is there. So I think this is again, this is how I would really want you to, really look at your data classification and data security things. I think if you're able to put your questions to any data, what is the data, who has that, how the data is getting collected, why this data is sensitive, why, when this data's classification can change, and how it is stored. If you have this what, when, how, where answered, I think your data security challenges would come down tremendously. Most of the time, when we go out to a user and say, okay, I want to do a backup, can you tell me a critical data in your machine? He'll say, no, everything is important. Whereas if you really go back and start looking at it, he may not even have more than 2 GB of data, emails, and maybe, few Word files or few PPT or Excel which are critical to him. Rest are something that, he has either used and is not using it. And, how you can really start to look at it, please look at, when was the last time this file was accessed. If the file was not accessed for last 5 years, for all probability, it is either, an archive file, it should be sitting on the archive, or it is a file which is not for current use, but may have an information which can expose the challenge. So please get rid of that particular file. Similarly, emails, similarly, your other PPT, your picture files or other files which are there. So I think, please take a data and, try to, really, put all of these data, at those particular, places which are there. That will start to answer your, lot of questions. So this is about, what we would, really ask a good, scalable, sustainable data discovery, classification, and then data security platform. Thank you. I think that's it from me. If there are any questions that I can answer, I'll be happy to do that.
For more updates from CXO TV, please like and subscribe to our channel.